I live in Victoria, Australia, and we are often the battleground for many spiritual wars. Our state suffers the most perverse politics and education. Everything unsafe gets this Orwellian government label of safe. Safe schools, safe injection, safe assisted dying, safe zones. The dangers cannot be overstated. Now, our premier right now is called Daniel Andrews, and his Labour government has done 4 anti-Christian things. Number 1, made radical, dangerous gender theory mandatory in all state high schools. It's called Safe Schools. We'll get to this. We're the only state in Australia that requires sexual indoctrination. His Labour government has legalized euthanasia and assisted suicide, breaking his election promise. We're the only state in Victoria. His Labour government has attacked Christian organizations to remove their ability to employ all staff who share their beliefs. So you can have a Christian organization, but you must employ people who don't share your values. We're the only state in Australia that does that to religious organizations. Number 4, he's ignored the call to protect unborn babies who can feel pain from the act of abortion. And he's even prosecuted a mom for allegedly helping women to save their babies. The question right now is, how did we get here? How did we sink to this low? We've been having church every week. Churches meet throughout Australia every week. Where is the influence? What has happened? Well, you might say that we've been the product of the sexual revolution of the 1960s. But did you know who is the most important name of this so-called sexual revolution? I don't know why we needed a sexual revolution to begin with. This is why I said, in my previous sermon, that the Western world is very emotional. And emotionality goes with sexuality, goes with all sorts of problems, ups and downs in this area. So I don't know why, but in the West, we thought we needed a sexual revolution. Don't take it from me, take it from our Australian High Court Justice, Michael Kirby. Michael Kirby said this in 2006. Dr. Alfred Kinsey is, in my view, one of the greatest scientists of the 20th century. He is certainly one of the greatest scholars of Indiana University. His contribution to a wider civilization cannot be understated. At the fault line of ideas competing for human acceptance in this present age, Dr. Kinsey stands, beckoning us forward to gender rationality and knowledge about ourselves. Can you hear the heroic language? It's almost like scripture language. He stands like a prophetic voice in our time. And you'll hear this again and again from the secularists, that Kinsey is a fantastic individual. He's a clear-eyed scientist. He's objective, he's empirical, he's factual, he's a scientist. Listen to him. He's the authority. So let me give you a picture of this man. This is Alfred Kinsey. Now, who is Michael Kirby? By the way, let me just give you a background. Michael Kirby, our former Justice of the Australian High Court, has been openly gay since 1984. How many of you knew that? I have one person in the entire church. He has lived since 1969 with a Dutch male, Johan van Vloten. Interestingly, he's a bit of a maverick on the court. He's had a 40% dissent rate in all court cases and 50% dissent rate on constitutional cases. So they nickname him the Great Dissenter. Kirby retired from the High Court on the 2nd of February 2009, shortly before reaching the constitutionally mandatory retirement age of 70. And he's been replaced by Virginia Margaret Bell. Did anyone know that? Okay, I've got a church full of Aussies, mate. Not a single Aussie knew the replacement of a justice, the last replacement of a justice. The same as like a Brett Kavanaugh or a Neil Gorsuch. Now, you heard of Brett Kavanaugh. Definitely, the Aussies say. But you didn't hear the replacement of your own justice, our own justice. Well, this happened in 2009, and the person who replaced him is Virginia Bell. Bell lives in inner Sydney with her female partner, a barrister. She's long been involved in LGBT and human rights issues, participating in the first Mardi Gras LGBT rights rally in Sydney in 1978, which was a chaos that was broken up by the police. She's the first lesbian to serve on the High Court and the second openly LGBT person after Michael Kirby. Now here are the facts. The goal of our government officials who subscribe to Kinsey is to try to normalize pedophilia. Activists called pedophiles a euphemism, minor attracted adults. See, this is how the left continually brainwash people. They keep changing the terms. You say pedophile, everyone says, ew, that's disgusting, that's immoral, that's unethical, that's criminal. But they change the words slowly on you. And now they call it minor attracted adults. The professor who developed safe schools for Victoria, he's at La Trobe University. La Trobe, I got a lot of question marks for La Trobe. His name is Gary Dowsett, professor at La Trobe University, and he laid out the 3 agendas. This is what they must push in Australia. Number 1, custody rights of children for gay men and lesbians. He said the agenda next now is to win this, custody rights. So they've got that, tick. Next, legal rights of pedophiles and their young lovers. So this is where we're at. They've won every single point, and now we're at just the very end. Most of the church isn't even aware if you say Kinsey. Who's Kinsey? And the third agenda is to finally secure the sexual rights of children as a whole. Their goal is to bring Marxism in, to legalize pedophilia, and to criminalize LGBTQ phobia. Let me explain this to you. This is the final step. Traditional homophobia is not the same as modern LGBTQ phobia. What they are now pushing is the final step, that if you have a disinterest, you're a homophobe. If you're disinterested in this subject, if you're not teaching it to your children, you must be an LGBTQ phobe. If you are not sufficiently celebratory of, say, Mardi Gras or gay education, you're a homophobe. If you give socially desirable, positive, or politically correct answers, you're a homophobe. They're not happy now that people are simply saying, because people know how to do the routine, it's socially acceptable, it's politically correct, just to go with it, even if you're not one. But they say, no, now this is just a response that people are giving. They must celebrate homosexuality. If they don't, it's against the law. And Christians can't get their act together to realize what the agenda is. And now they're promoting peer pressure. You know, peer pressure used to be something that people say, don't, succumb to peer pressure. Now they call them, we need peer educators. People who will help others to get in touch with their unspoken emotions and feelings. Always those words. The tyranny of emotions. So now I've shown you what the agenda is. I've given you the history, the context, the development from Alfred Kinsey to today, the Safe School program that is really at stake. This is what the main issue is about if the Labour government wins. It will be implemented. And they want to do it, remember, K to 12. Step 1 is already done, it's high school. They want to push it down lower and lower. So you better pray.